Welcome back to week 2 of my Christmas mouse house project. This week I did a lot of patching and priming and sanding to get the cabinet ready for paint and wallpaper, but that's boring. So in between, I decided to dress up some Christmas ornaments to be the little mouse family that will live in this mouse house. Now, for the house and the mice, I'm taking my inspiration from the kind of Victorian setting in this version of The Night Before Christmas. This book is set in 1822, I believe, which is also when the original poem was written. My other inspiration for this project is also this version of Twas the Night Before Christmas, this cartoon that's set in also the Victorian era, but I would say probably more like the late 1800s or maybe even the early 1900s. So let's get to it and see how I can costume these mice. These are some Christmas ornaments that I have. I figure this will work well as our father mouse, and these two look to me like they could be sisters, so we'll make those twin sisters. And this I think we can make into a Victorian lady, so let's get to it. I'm going to start by taking off all of the ornament things and any other little extras that don't quite fit my Victorian theme. Some of these details, like the Christmas lights or some of this trim that's a bit loose on this mouse, are hot glued on. And a good trick for that is to take a glue gun without any glue in it, a little piece of brown paper, and lay that bit of brown paper over the dried hot glue, heat it up with the glue gun, and it will soak up the hot glue. So it turns out that our little Santa hat was covering up the fact that this mouse has only one ear, but I'm not too worried about that because I'm going to make her some ears that are similar to this mouse's ears. So I'll have just enough of this pink felt, and then I'll get some white as well, and that'll be plenty. Next thing we're going to do here is take off some of this loose trim on the sister mice. Some of this has seen better days, and I have plenty of little lace that I can replace it with. So I'm just going to take off the old before I replace with the new. Okay, so we have replaced the trim with some cute little lace that I had, and so far, other than this one having a bow and this one not, they are pretty much identical. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a red bow on this ear to distinguish them, but otherwise I'm going to put this green ribbon around like a little skirt, and then this cute flouncy little lace over that, and we'll have two little Christmas mice. Right, so I'm making really good progress, so obviously it's time to stop and take a really deep dive into the question absolutely nobody else is asking, namely, am I going to make pants for Father Mouse? Now, currently, my Father Mouse ornament has the whole works. He has the hat, he has the coat, he has the vest, he has a parasol for crying out loud, but he doesn't have pants, which probably isn't really a problem. Although arguably the most famous mouse in his very own mouse house wears only pants, so there's that. And if we're going by mice from the Victorian era that I'm trying to emulate, the most famous one there must be Basil of Baker Street, who, as you can see from this original illustration, definitely not wearing pants. Although clearly that's up for interpretation, because when Basil of Baker Street is reimagined as the Great Mouse Detective in the Disney film, he is wearing trousers. In fact, all the male characters in The Great Mouse Detective are depicted wearing pants, including Professor Ratigan, who isn't even a mouse, he's a rat. And if we're going to include rats in this argument, that has to bring us to The Muppet Christmas Carol. Lots of mice and rats in The Muppet Christmas Carol, none of them wearing pants, and obviously that creates a big problem, especially for Rizzo the rat. Light the lamp, not the rat! So, at any rate, the question of whether to put pants on a mouse is clearly open to interpretation. But we're just going to err on the side of caution and we're going to make some pants for Father Mouse. And speaking of A Muppet Christmas Carol, Miss Piggy's outfit as Mrs. Cratchit is where I got my inspiration for the Mother Mouse's outfit. I feel like a lot of the Victorian era ladies and lady mice that I'm seeing have some pretty fussy outfits that are going to be pretty hard for me to replicate. But I think I could do this. I have some plaid ribbon to make her dress. I have some lace I could use as a bonnet. So actually, let's start there before I go figuring out how to pattern and sew mouse trousers. So that wraps up week 2 of my Christmas mouse house project. I love how this little mouse family turned out. And now that I'm done the boring part of patching and priming on the inside of the cabinet, next week we get to do the fun part and add some wallpaper. I hope you'll hit subscribe and join us again next week.